You see De'Aaron Fox getting ready. He's averaging 20 points and 6 assists already this season, leading the Sacramento Kings, the best to his ability. John Wall made his debut as a Rocket on Thursday. He had a pretty hard game to beat, but since there is no James Harden tonight, he might have another opportunity to put up some impressive numbers. I don't know if he'll be able to put up the assist number he did without James Harden, though, because that's an easy money assist right there. So if you're Sacramento, you saw John Wall for the first time after not knowing what to expect. How do you adjust defensively, and what do you expect to see from him?
Well, we know all the great coaches in the NBA. You watch a little film, you put a few schemes together, and you try to get the ball out of his hands. But, B-Wood, I think you would agree with this. When a guy of his caliber and his talent finds his confidence and realizes his body now is listening to his mind, it's hard to stop. So I'd be very interested to see what Luke Walton comes up with to try to get the ball out of John Wall's hands.
Yeah, listen, you're probably not going to get the ball out of John Wall's hands simply because he's too fast, he's too quick to trap right now. And then there's really good players around him. Eric Gordon. We talked about Christian Woods rolling to the basket, and the way he's finishing, you can always find P.J. Tucker hanging out in the corner if you're looking for him. So they have players around that can space the court. So you're probably not going to get the ball out of his hands, but you do want to scheme to where you're taking away some of the shots for his teammates.
For sure. So Coach Silas now has his first win as an NBA head coach under his belt. Let's hear from him pregame on what the Rockets need to do to win in this series format.
I think there's that natural kind of, I don't know if letdown is the word, but there's just a natural feeling after a win versus a loss. We're feeling pretty good after the win the other night and then having yesterday, and they probably weren't feeling so good after those 2 days. So just the mindset that you have after a win versus after a loss can lead to a little bit of letdown, or in their case, a little bit of a sense of urgency. So I would say that's the thing that we're fighting right now, and we're in no position to have any sort of letdown or anything. I really talked to the guys about preparation today and their readiness as far as this being an afternoon game. It's not a normal routine that they have for their game, and usually these afternoon games can be a little funny, be a little quirky, and it's the team that comes out with the most readiness that has the best chance to win. So that's what we're all about today is our readiness.
Sacramento, by the numbers so far, and I know it's early, is one of the worst defensive teams, so that works in Houston's favor. But, Dennis, will they have enough scoring power without James Harden, with a John Wall, who is only in his second game, to beat Sacramento?
In a game this afternoon, as Coach was talking about, you should have enough. You're playing against a team that they're still trying to figure out who they are, being so young. De'Aaron Fox, he's a great young talent, but the Bagleys of the world, he's still trying to figure out who he is. So, as a whole, you say to yourself, there should be enough firepower there. John Wall should be enough. B. Wood talked about earlier, if you can break down the defense, you have enough shot makers, and you should be able to win this ball game tonight.
Brandon, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Bottom line is Sacramento doesn't play defense. They didn't play defense last year. They're not playing defense right now. So I expect John Wall to be able to get down the lane with ease. And when he does that, he's either going to be able to score or kick it out to his teammates. And a guy like Eric Gordon, look for him to possibly have a big night. Young man right there, Christian Woods. I'm going to keep pumping him because so many casual NBA fans does not know who this guy is. Christian Woods is a baller. 25 points, 9 rebounds a night early on in this season. I think a guy like that could go off for a big number as well. I like Houston to win this game, even without James Harden, because 3D knows about this also. Sometimes human nature kicks in. You look across the court, you see the other team doesn't have their best player, and you start to think, we can get them tonight. We might not need to have the same effort. Next thing you know, those dogs come out and play a little bit harder than you.
Thoughts, Christian Wood or John Wall? Who leads all scorers tonight for Houston? Brandon, I'll start with you.
I'm going Woods. That's how impressed I've been. I think John Wall is going to help him lead them in scoring because I think he's going to find him for open mid-range jumpers. I think he's going to find him for open lobs at the basket. It wouldn't surprise me if he gave Christian Woods 10 points easy just on his own. That's how good John Wall is as a facilitator. So I'm going to go with Woods to lead Houston in scoring tonight.
Can I pick somebody else?
Yeah, sure.
Eric Gordon then, yes.
You
Eric
think
Gordon,
so?
because I believe what Wood's talking about, that John Wall having his confidence back, I think he may go for 15 or 16 assists tonight and feed all his teammates.
Eric Gordon is his best when he's able to shoot threes in rhythm,
Yep.
and it's really hard with James Harden on the floor to just come in off the bench, get a shot a quarter type of thing. But we know that Eric Gordon can not miss at times when he is in the flow of the game. So I wouldn't be surprised either.
There was 2 games we did last year on NBA TV when James Harden didn't play, and Eric Gordon, I think, had 40.
Wow. Yeah. And you know what? He hasn't really broken out of his slump yet. So maybe this is
Come
the
on,
game
EG, let's see what you got.
he needs. All right, everybody. So before we tip off, we have one more segment where we give you our final thoughts on Sacramento and Houston. Stick around. He had 22 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, 1 steal, and a block in his first game in 735 days.
And John Wall still fast, in case you forgot.
2 Kentucky guys squaring off against each other. De'Aaron Fox getting ready. We tip it at 5 o'clock. Kings and Rockets. We're going to take you all the way there. And later tonight on NBA TV, wait for it, Zion Williamson, baby. More highlights from him to come, as we have been accustomed to seeing those nightly. It's the CarMax pregame show. I'm Allie LaForest with Dennis Scott and Brendan Haywood joining us from Charlotte. It's great to be with you. You saw John Wall warming up. Unfortunately, we're not going to see this fresh, all-new look Rockets tonight because James Harden is dealing with an ankle sprain. He's a late scratch, but we did see everybody together on Thursday. So, Brendan, I come to you. We saw Eric Gordon make his debut on the season, as well as DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall. What did you think of them all together Thursday?
Well, altogether, I thought they looked good. I mean, I thought that if they stay together for the course of the season, they don't trade James Harden. John Wall and James Harden now automatically become the best backcourt in the NBA if together. We had some questions. Does John Wall have the same burst? Will he still have his athleticism after having 2 years off? He answered those questions quick, fast, and in a hurry in the preseason and then in the last game. 8 for 20, 22 points. But more importantly, John Wall looked fast. He looked quick. He looked athletic. And his game is based on athleticism. 3D, I'm not used to seeing guys come back from Achilles injury and look like this. This young man is back like he never left. You see that dunk right there? So I'm really interested to see how far this backcourt can take this team. I hope James Harden eventually recants on the trade demands, because I think John Wall and James Harden will be very interesting for the Western Conference to try to defend.
No, B, well, you bring up a good point. I think the bigger question to what you're saying is, will James Harden and John Wall have that man-to-man conversation, 2 alpha dogs in the same room, and say, hey, bruh, I know you've been through some things with Chris Paul. I know you went through something with James Harden, with Russell Westbrook. I want to be here. We're here. Let's make this work. Allie, if they have that conversation, then to Brendan's point, I think maybe things could get interesting in Houston, because this guy's still fast. He can still get to the basket. James Harden, we know he's been an MVP candidate the last 4 or 5 years. Boogie Cousins, yes, he's been banged up, but it seems like his body's in shape. But it's all about those 2 guys. Do they really want to be in Houston? Do they really want to try to make it work? If they can do that, guess what? You go into each game saying, how do we slow down those guys? And we know the way they play is a little unorthodox defensively, but the bottom line is if you can slow them down, you win. But if you can't, the game becomes interesting.
We're still all getting used to this new Houston team. I mean, you look at John Wall, who didn't miss a beat after 735 days without a game. It truly is remarkable. Then we see James Harden, out partying, showing up late to camp and the season, and then also demanding a trade. But when they're out there together, it seems to all work. Then you have Christian Wood, the undrafted rookie, or the undrafted 5th-year player out of UNLV, having an awesome year. He's having averages of 25 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 assists. So, Brendan, are they the real deal if everybody is healthy, everybody's still intact on this team to make a push in the West, or are you still out?
No, I think they can be the real deal. If James Harden commits back to the Houston Rockets and says, you know what, forget all the trade talk, I'm here, let's make this work. If they have that man-to-man talk like 3D just talked about, where James, John Wall, Boogie Cousins, and all those guys sit down and say, we're going to make this work, There's no reason why this Houston Rocket team can't be the second or third best team in the Western Conference. Outside of the Lakers, who can we say definitely has more talent than Houston? You know, when you talk about John Wall, you talk about Harden, you talk about Boogie Cousins, Christian Woods is probably the best kept secret in the NBA. A lot of people didn't see him last year because he was in Detroit. And, you know, there wasn't a lot of reason to watch Detroit. But now that he's in Houston, you should be paying attention because this young man is balling. He has a jumper. He's athletic. He makes plays in transition. You can give him the ball, and he can do a little something on his own. I love Christian Wood's game. More like 3D. When's the last time you see somebody averaging 25 points, shooting 57% from the floor to go along with his 9 rebounds? This kid is very entertaining, and I think people are sleeping on him, but they're going to wake up fairly soon.
And to that point, Brendan, for all the big guys out there, don't always buy into the narrative that you have to shoot three-point shots. He picks, he rolls to the basket, he can knock down the mid-range jump shot, to all those things you're talking about, B. Wood. So to your point, Allie, not being drafted, he's shown us that he can come in and find his niche, put in the work. Now he's getting paid for it.
You guys, we're continuing to see all-time scoring highs in the league, too. Brendan, do you believe Houston can do enough defensively to make it to the end?
Well, that remains to be seen. But you know what, though? This Houston team is different. Mike D'Antoni's no longer the head coach. They have a couple of people that we just talked about, Christian Woods and some other players that are different from a personnel standpoint. Houston before was never really interested in playing but so much defense. Can this team be a little bit better? I think it can be. I've seen James Harden's defense improve over the last 2 seasons. I know some people used to laugh at it, but it has at least gotten to the point to where his defense is respectable. So will they be as good as maybe like the Milwaukee Bucks or the Lakers defensively? Probably not. Do they have enough defense to make up for the fact that their offense is really good? Yeah, their offense is good, so they can be a middle-of-the-pack defensive team.
And to that point, Wood, I think big picture we asked ourselves, Allie, does this team have enough? Can Eric Gordon, another one of those key pieces to their flow, is can he stay healthy?
Right.
All those little ifs right now hold you back to all the Lakers, the Clippers. You throw Utah in the mix, the Nuggets. So some other teams you say, you know what, they have the bench and the stars, but can this Houston Rocket team put it all together?
Still packed out west. Okay, no James Harden. Also, news today coming from head coach Luke Walton for Sacramento. No Tyrese Halliburton, who's going to miss at least the next 2 games with a wrist injury. So as we get into Sacramento, yeah, it is. That's big time. Maybe more minutes for Glenn Robinson, maybe more minutes for Kyle Guy. How big of an opportunity is this for those two, Brendan?
It's definitely a big opportunity. When somebody else goes down, it's your opportunity to step up. You know, sometimes it's unfortunate injuries happen, but that can be your key into getting into the rotation. That can be your key into locking in the rotation for the rest of the season. I remember I was in D.C., and I wasn't starting. I was playing behind Eton Thomas, and he got hurt. And when he got hurt, I was able to step in there. I had a very good year. The team took off. We started winning. I had to take advantage of the opportunity. Now, of course, I wanted my teammate to get better, but the opportunity was there, and I stepped in and did my thing. Glenn Robinson Jr. has a chance to do his thing, and maybe Kyle Guy also. You have to step up there and put the pressure on your coaches to put you back on the bench.
Yeah, that's the only part of our game, Alan. You know this, and for some of the people at home, you're always rooting for your teammate. But when your teammate goes down, that's when that phrase, next man up, you have to be ready to play and take full advantage of your opportunity. And to Brendan's point, now when you do that, now if anything else happens or the playoffs or someone gets in foul trouble, now the coach says, you know what, he handled his opportunity last time the right way, let's give him another one. Well,
there's going to be some really fun and explosive guard play despite the fact that James Harden isn't playing in this one. It tips at 5 o'clock right here on NBA TV. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk another game coming up on NBA TV later tonight, Raptors-Pelicans, and Brandon Ingram.
That boy's smooth.
Has continued to take his game to new heights. We'll talk Ingram next.
From Kinston, North Carolina.